talking about lowering fence. There are two separate areas in here which were zoned that way. And the zoning requires the RV section and those storage areas to be enclosed in a 7-foot high fence, so we cannot blow, which is required by
shorten them. From the stop sign over to where the water thing is.
That had to do with the tank
lift.
on the ground there.
Yeah, the lift station interferes with that.
The county came out and said it had to go there.
We do have cameras in there, and the only problem is, how do we know whether they're out of the park or they're living in the park?
Well, I'll tell you one of the things is we look after each other. I remember when David was alive and I was over there visiting, and here comes another fellow saying, I think there's somebody over there dumping illegally. And the three of us went over and confronted the guy, and he had been working in a house here, and he thought he had privileges regardless of where the trash came from. And that's, I'm not proposing that you all become policemen, but at least get the license number and call John, and we can control that kind of thing. Go ahead.
We don't even need the license number. I would think the camera should pick that up. If you notice somebody coming in there, just note the time and the time and the day, and maybe the type of vehicle, because John can look through the tape and the film and get it. But when Mr. Hoffman owned this park, that big gate to the dump was never opened after maintenance left. At 4 o'clock, that was closed. You'll notice if you're going into the dumpster to your right, there is a man door. If local people wanted to take a bag of garbage in from about 4 o'clock on in the afternoon, that's how we went in. For some reason, the day the park took this over, those doors were open and stayed open. And I don't necessarily agree with that. You can tell me what? Okay. Why?
The reason those gates were kept closed is Hoffman had a gas tank in there, a 500-gallon gas tank. People would go in with their cars at night, fill up on gas, so we locked the gates at night. When we took over due to the EPA, we got rid of the gas tank.
Along that subject, I happen to be in the facilities here, John. I was in the facilities, and I noticed that old tank is still sitting out there. You need to call that company and say, come and get it, or it's going.
They probably want us to get rid of it, because I still, back to what we were saying, I think we should still look at closing those at night. That's going to stop people coming in with vehicles. If they really want to go in, they're going to go in and dump a bag of garbage, but they're not going to dump a truckload of garbage.
Okay, any other things we can talk about? I would like Tim, since he's on his feet, to talk a little bit about financing and our new financing package.
Oh, I thought you were going to get me on something. We have been working extremely hard, and John and I, ex-bankers, are real heavy negotiators with bankers. We successfully managed to refinance the park. We got a 25-year RAM with a 15-year term fixed rate of 3.7%, which is down from the initial offering of 4.49, which saves us $213,000 a year in interest. The annual payment, mortgage and principal and interest, is $32,000 lower than what we budgeted. We've also managed to obtain up to 5 share sales. I guess I'm going to say we don't want to sell 5 shares a year, but we get to keep the money this time and use it for also increased the mortgage by $1.5 million, which is going to be put to use fairly soon to do infrastructure like roads, sewers, electrical, you name it. We got the $484,000 that the bank has been sitting on. We got that ourselves. Now we are allowed to use it, but we do have to maintain a minimum capital reserve down to $100,000, which we kind of will not have for. I think that's pretty well done, isn't it?
Thank you. And we hope that that will, will result in the control of these ratings.
Is that gonna change who we pay our rent to?
I will put it this way, and I'm not stating any percentages, that I'm planning on having a minimal type increase.
That's something we'll take into consideration.
Time for the bad guy to say a few words. Concerning the issue on pets, within the community, we have two types of animals. One are animals that are regulated by the Fair Housing Act, and there's requirements for the co-op to make reasonable accommodations for people with disabilities. And we have to live with the fact that these types of animals will be in the park. And they are allowed to walk in common areas just like their owner who has a disability. And there's not anything that can be done about that. The other issue in the park are what we would call pets. And this is a bit of an emotional issue, and it's been for quite a while, about pets. So the current park rule for pets will be rewritten, and it will hopefully satisfy both camps. I'm talking about people who don't want pets, people who want pets, but a little bit in there for each group, and I think they'll all be satisfied. But because we're not only a co-op, we also have an HOA in the park. Any changes to the rules, because there's an HOA, has to be sent up to Tallahassee for approval. So this package of rules, not only for pets, but in general, all the other rules that we have in the park, they're all going to be subject to change, but the changes have to be approved by Tallahassee before they go into effect. So we're not going to see any changes probably for at least a couple of months. It depends on how long it takes Tallahassee to do their job. And as the last time was over 2 years ago, and I think I've asked the membership, the co-op, to take a look at the rules and think about anything that needs to be updated or changed. Whatever change there will be, as we did with the last time we changed the rules, which was in December of 13. There's a 90-day waiting period after you all receive a copy of the new rules before they become in effect. Did I answer the question? Okay. Well, right now, in my opinion, the current rules of the park as far as addressing FHA animals, which are in general service animals / emotional support animals. There's really nothing in the current rules even touching that subject. So the new rules will certainly touch upon that as its own section, and also the section on pets in general. Yes. Yes, I understand what you're saying, and I've been working quite a bit with our attorney on this particular subject, and he has provided you with an approval process that will really weed out, I'm saying it will weed out the people who are perhaps had an animal in their previously under false pretenses, but they just wanted to have an animal and they're really not looking for an accommodation. But it's going to be quite a detailed application for a service animal or emotional support animal. And I think this will cover what you're talking about. I hope it will, because our attorney has done this for other parts, the same type of document, and I'll have to say that it's very thorough, and I'm glad I'm finally going to take a look at it. And everybody, once this becomes, this is a federal thing, it's not a state thing with emotional support and service animals, so this is something that, because I ironed out a few details on it with our attorney, this can go into effect real soon. As far as the general case of changing the rules on pets, that's going to take a while because it has to go upstate. Did I answer your question?
They allowed to walk down the street.
Right now, it's a difficult subject, okay? But the service animals and emotional support animals are certainly allowed to walk down the street with their owner, constrained. Constrained means on a leash, no more than 6 feet long. So whether we like it or not, these animals will be walking the street, and hopefully they're animals that are walking the street because their owner has a reasonable, asks for a reasonable accommodation because of a disability. But I think within the park, there are probably many who are walking dogs that shouldn't be. Well, I don't know what the good answer to that one is, but I know at some point in time, and not too distant future, there will be specific rules about who can walk on the street with their animal.
Are they gonna be enforced?
That's the difficult part. That's the difficult part. So, like with anything you have a complaint about, you can file a complaint with the office. It's a confidential complaint. You have to sign it, and John will investigate it. Now, if it certainly is that person is allowed to walk his dog because it is an emotional support animal, let's say, all John has to say is there's been a reasonable accommodation by the law, and he doesn't have to get any further details about it.
That you can walk, support dogs?
Yes, yes.
There's only two places to support dogs cannot go that far. One is a bird center, and the other is an operating room. That's what it says.
What about going around the golf carts?
Yeah.
That's a little sticky issue. I've seen a golf cart go by with 2 tiny little dogs in it. Whether they're support dogs or not, I don't know, but that's something I really don't want to get involved in as far as don't do that. I mean, what harm are they doing? Without walking them on the street or taking them for a ride in their golf cart or passing on a bike or something like that. So, I mean, a little bit of a gray area, but hopefully won't be out of hand.
This is why we go through this process. And when, after we write this, we send it to Tallahassee and let them peruse it and say, this works, this doesn't work. They send it back, we rewrite it, send it back for their approval. There's so many gray areas. What about this? What about that? You know, it's a very difficult question. I know that we're going from a no pet park to something else, and you know, every neighborhood